Hi guys, welcome back to the channel for another video on Marvel Contest of Champions, and this is one of these videos where we deep dive abilities of champions that are coming into the game very shortly. As you know, yesterday it was announced that we'll be seeing Ebony Maw, Ronin, as well as Cull Obsidian, which is also known as Black Dwarf. Yes indeed, as I said, the function of this video is to have a look at these characters, their abilities, and see what we're going to expect when they come into the game, maybe add a bit more to it, based on certain things that we know already from the trailer. Also, if you do want to see the trailer, there's a link in the description below. Let's first of all begin with the Black Order. Now, it is good news to see that we've completed the Black Order. I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't see more female representation from Valkyrie and Rescue, but they could be coming in further updates, and I will address this in an upcoming puzzle updated video. However, though, as you can see from here, there's two characters still not in the Black Order that are in game, and also they haven't even reached the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I think Kabam, as well as Marvel, are sticking towards the main ones that we know. It just has taken a year in order to get the final members of the Black Order to come into the game. Cull Obsidian, or Black Dwarf, is actually the brother of Corvus Glaive. You don't really see a family resemblance, do you? They're both looking very ugly, but that's just a normal thing for these kind of evil cosmic beings. And yeah, Proxima Midnight is sister-in-law? Again, very weird circumstance with Black Order, but it's a thing. What about powers for Black Dwarf, aka Cull Obsidian? This is where things get a little bit, well, lackluster. There's nothing really noticeable about it. So I think this will be the whole kind of like Hulk scenario. It's a big, bad champion, so he does big, bad moves. He has durability, a very thick hide or thick skin, and even saying here that it was difficult for Annihilus as well as Ronin the Accuser in order to take down this enemy, which is cool. It's also cool as well to tie in things like Annihilus, who just recently came into the game. We also have Ronin, which is cool, but also Super Scarlet mentions. So could there be some sort of tie-in in the future with this champion and those? Possibly, I'd like to see it. Either way, it will look towards building up some sort of charges or some sort of buff in some circumstance, and we have seen a yellow symbol appear in the top left hand corner. Although the trailer so far isn't really of HD quality, we can make out the extent of something charging up. Whether or not this will be something that is yellow and it's attributed to something that is either light, shocking, but mainly it's going to be a case of building up something very ferocious, I can imagine, that you're able to hit out the enemy. And it could be a good guarantee with such a thick skin that there should be some sort of immunities. I don't know if it will be bleed immune, I doubt that, but I think definitely there'll be some sort of immunity there, which you can sort of make out in the top left hand corner, whatever it is. To a lot of you watching this, Ebony Maw will be very familiar if you've watched the 2018 film Infinity War. In the film, you saw that there was a battle between Ebony Maw and Doctor Strange, which is actually touched upon in the trailer, which is for the Chinese version, as we've seen, and also link is in the description for that. The fact is, it is touching very much on sort of mystical powers. I do use that in a very light term. The champion is going to be a mystic character, which is cool, but at the same time, there's no real evidence to kind of push towards comic book source material and the whole thing about mystical arts. But there is a huge amount on tech usage, understanding of alien technology, genius level intellect, and maybe a little bit of telepathy. So there are some things that are speaking in his favor, but not anything that's too much to do with mystical powers. Unless we go that he's got a pure kind of like mastermind super brain that's able to just like mega mind do things that are completely unbelievable. In some ways kind of like a mystical power, which is played out here. Nice. One of the key powers that Ebony Maw possesses is persuasion. I know, I'm kind of like stumped by this. Unless it's got some kind of Professor Xavier meets Magneto meets a few other type vibe. It's difficult to give you a full explanation of this, especially when you see things of telekinesis and stuff where he's able to remove things with the power of his mind. He's able to manipulate stuff with his mind and then put it at enemies in a kind of projectile meets energy based form. There's a lot more going on with Ebony Maw from the movie side of things, cinematic universe, and what you're going to see in game that I think could touch on the elements of the core abilities as we see here. Looking at this a bit more, you can definitely see the projectiles going out at the enemy, and at the same time what are these buffs and debuff effects. Or are these debuff effects? Are these negative effects on you as a player? It looks like you definitely get a weakness of some kind, and at the same time, what's the further thing? There's a number generating above us. Like, what is that? That grey icon? Is that something that's going to be of a negative effect? And is it going to be something to do with persuasion? Is persuading something, when you get a positive effect, then does it turn it negative? For example, Doctor Strange at this point doesn't have any buffs on, but if he was to have a buff on that maybe was a Fury buff, which he does get, would it be anything negative? So if he gains a power gain effect, does they then get a power lock effect? Is that the element of persuasion towards the negative and kind of swapping something out? It'll be cool to see whether or not this is another champion that deals around things of buffs and reverses the effect of those buffs to something negative. So I'm excited to see what happens here. And also, what are these positive effects for Ebony Maw? Are these going to be things that are beneficial for him? So something negative happens to the enemy, so he gains from something positive. This is still very early days, and I'm excited to see what Otrix will probably be data mining at some point as to what this is going to be. But also, do remember, if there's any doubt, there's probably something there that does contradict in the comic books and also in other cases. And even this line here that basically says that even though people might assume that he doesn't have any superpowers, he could be telling a lie. Maybe using his genius level intellect, he was like, no, I'm not going to give away the secret that I'm actually pretty darn shit hot and I can actually be a complete powerhouse when it comes to, a complete badass when it comes to doing damage. As we saw in Infinity War, he definitely was and has the capability to do more. You just got to watch out for a pesky little spider and an Iron Man, and they're going to blast him off into space. Tough times. Next up, and ladies and gentlemen, we got him, and that is Ronin. So if you've been following the channel, you will know that for the last year I've been going, we're going to get this champion. As soon as I saw set footage of Clint Barton as Ronin, obviously that's Jeremy Renner as Ronin, I was like, yeah, this is going to be amazing. We're definitely going to have this champion in game, and I'm so glad that we have. I think the biggest reason for me to show any kind of interest is, number one, the story of Ronin and how Clint Barton came to be Ronin is brilliant, but also at the same time, the reasons that he's been put in Endgame. And it's just perfect. Imagine that. Your family, who you love, or your kids, are being snapped by Thanos, and it motivates you to be incredibly like miserable, but also focused. You're destructive. You're looking for pain, crime, punishment, justice. You want to kick butt. You've got nothing to live for. So it is just this really dark aspect. So I'm really happy to see, and also really excited to see the way that Jeremy Renner does portray this, and also the depth that he can actually draw from Hawkeye. Because let's face it, he knows, he's very self-aware that he is not the strongest of the Avengers, and at the same time, he will be one of the key members of the Avengers. And especially now, I'm really excited to see this. So roll on next week. Cannot wait to see the way that Jeremy Renner portrays Ronin. In game, the look is spot on, and I'm really excited to see what they can do with this. All the other characters are spot on with their look. It is very much movie version than it is to do with comic books, but also there's some minute little stamps on it that do vary a tiny bit from what you see in the film. So it is good to see that the appearance is good as well. It's to be expected we're going to see an intense amount of bleed, although that isn't showcased in this particular footage. In particular, seeing ticks of 7 doesn't really make you feel that this is going to be an intense bleeder, but there could be more to this. And as we get future information, it is going to be self-aware that this is going to be a lot better. I think we've got a concussion up the top there, so that is going to be interesting to see how that blends in well. Also, speed seems to be at the main focal point of this champion, and whether or not we'll see something with evade at some point, and him being very quick, similar to a Ronin, or somebody that is embracing a lot of martial arts or kind of shadow work and being a ninja. But it's kind of weird because he's like 47 Ronin, so it's like, it just reminds me of like 47 Ronin, but it's like a ninja. It's kind of like a weird kind of mesh together of different types of styles, so it's going to be really fun. And if Kabam choose to touch on the fact of the armor, then you're going to see some improvements to the extent of damage that can be taken. So whether or not there's going to be some ties in with that, the armor is going to be quite dense. Maybe that's a thing, maybe it's not, but we're still waiting to hear more information. Do stand corrected, Masterless Samurai is Ronin. Also, the fact that you could see something transform from the bow, but it doesn't look like. I thought there may be something that the samurai is able to be altered into a bow, but but the design does in the movie does look a little bit kind of weird, so maybe it could be a case that that's still on as an option to transfer into a bow for that purpose of usage. Also as well, we're hopefully seeing some amazing synergies, not just for Ebony Maw and the rest of the Black Order, as well as Cull Obsidian kind of mixing in with Corvus Glaive and having that kind of family synergy of some kind. Is it going to make Proxima Midnight more powerful, all of the Black Order members more powerful, Thanos even more powerful if you do have him? So this will be exciting to see, but also will we now see some sort of buff that's going to be really good to Hawkeye? I really do hope that could be the case. We're officially 1 week away from the release of this particular update, and I'm sure that this is not just about the Chinese server, this is also about our server at the same time. When Ultrix has done the data mining of the abilities, I'll obviously share that with you, and we'll obviously deep dive that as much as we can. And I'm really hoping to see a lot of the stuff that we discussed today actually in that. Either way, thanks very much for watching. I've been RichTheMan. If you enjoyed the video today, hit that like button and subscribe for more Marvel Contest Champions based content. And as always, I shall catch you in the next one. Bye bye for now.